The board will now come to order. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderwoman Tyus. Alderwoman Middlebrook. Alderman Bosley. Alderman Moore. Alderwoman Hubbard. Alderwoman Ingracia. Alderman Kotar. Alderwoman Rice. Alderman Gunther. Alderman Vollmer. Alderwoman Martin. Alderman Ornowitz. Alderwoman Murphy. Alderwoman Howard. Alderwoman Green. Alderman Oldenburg. Alderman Rhodey. Alderman Kennedy. Alderwoman Davis. Alderwoman Spencer. Alderman Muhammad. Alderman Boyd. Alderman Vaccaro. Alderman Ogilvy. Alderman Cone. Alderwoman Boyd. Alderwoman Navarro. President Reed.
Here.
Alderwoman Tyus. Alderman Bosley. Alderman Moore. Alderwoman Hubbard. Alderwoman Ingracia. Alderwoman Rice. Alderman Vollmer. Alderwoman Howard. Alderman Rhodey. Alderwoman Davis. Alderwoman Spencer. Alderman Ogilvy. Alderman Cone. 19 present.
Quorum being present, we will be led today in prayer by our very own John Watson of Maple Temple.
Will you stand for prayer? O Lord, our Lord, how excellent is your name in all the earth. Gracious God, Heavenly Father, you have declared to us from your word that wisdom is the principal thing and that it should be our primary pursuit. It's more precious than earthly riches, and nothing we desire can compare with it. As we begin in this calendar year, we're determined to pursue wisdom and understanding, recognizing that wisdom coupled with good sense causes us to possess knowledge and good judgment. To fear you, Lord, is to hate evil, pride, arrogance, evil behavior, vicious speech. May this be the guiding principle of this session. As we reflect on Dr. Martin Luther King and all who have sacrificed and continue to sacrifice for equal rights for all, let your wisdom provide counsel, understanding, and power to us, that we may legislate by wisdom that will establish laws that are beneficial and just. Thank you in advance for granting us wisdom through 2019. May we hear it, receive it, embrace it, and apply it. Into your arms we commit our family, ourselves, our community. Amen.
Welcome back, everybody. Let's give Reverend John Watson a big round of applause and thank him for coming to lead us in prayer today. We're going to suspend with our regular order of business to take up our courtesy resolutions calendar. Alderman from the 18th, you recognize on the motion for our courtesy resolutions calendar.
Mr. President, members of the board, I move that we adopt the courtesy resolution calendar.
It's been moved by the Alderman from the 18th, seconded by the Alderman from the 22nd.
Good morning. It is often a pleasure when we are able to do resolutions. You all know I don't do many resolutions. What I really like is when we do a resolution and we surprise people and they don't know about it. In this case, we have someone that I've known for a lot of years, and I want to thank the license collector who brought this up to us, and we all agreed to do it. For her bringing this to our attention, and this is somebody that deserves being honored. And I would like to, if you don't mind, read this resolution, because this person is very deserving, and I believe in honoring people who are important in our community. And I want to start with saying, whereas Anne Marie Clark was sworn in as the 47th chair of the Judicial Council Division. I said I like to do ambush resolutions. She does not know that this was for her. She thought this was for her husband. Anne Marie and I worked together when I was a public defender, and she was at juvenile many, many years ago. So they were able to keep this a secret, not only from her, but did not tell me that I would be doing this, but that's okay. That's when you learn how to roll with the flow. Come on over here. Whereas Anne Marie Clark was sworn in as the 47th chair of the Judicial Council Division of the National Bar Association on August 1st, 2017, for a term of 1 year. As chair, she led a delegation of nearly 200 judges, lawyers, friends, and family members to the Dominican Republic for a service project working with children from Haiti and the Dominican Republic. Whereas her honor has served as Family Court Commissioner, Judge of the Family Court for the 22nd Judicial Circuit Court, St. Louis City, since October 1st, 1998. She served as hearing officer of the family courts from January 1986 until her appointment as commissioner. And whereas Commissioner Clark is a graduate of Rosetta Kane High School, St. Louis, Missouri, she attended Forest Park Community College, St. Louis, Missouri, and Northwest Missouri State University, Maryville, Missouri. She completed her college education in only 3 years and received a Bachelor's of Arts degree majoring in political science. She received a Juris Doctorate from St. Louis University School of Law. She is admitted to practice in Missouri and is a member of the National Bar Association, life member, the Bar Association of Metropolitan St. Louis, and the Mound City Bar Association, where she served as president from 1981 to 1983. She was the first black person to serve on the Board of Governors of the Missouri Bar, 1986 to 1990, and 1991 to 95. She served on the Board of Directors of the Bar Plan Mutual Insurance Company from the inception in 1986 until October 1998. And whereas Commissioner Clark, the first black woman served on the Board of the Police Commissioners for St. Louis City, was appointed to the police board by Governor Mel Carnahan on April 30th, 1993. She was unanimously elected president of the 5-member board on April 6, 1994, becoming the first woman to serve as president, a position she held until her resignation on September 30th, 1998. And whereas Commissioner Clark has been assigned to both the Juvenile Division, where I told you we served together, and the Domestic Relation Division. In the Domestic Division, she instituted the pro se dissolution docket for individuals who were proceeding without legal representation in divorce court. At the Juvenile Division, she has presided over cases involving children in foster care for more than 30 years. She created the city's first truancy court, which was held at Fanning Middle School. She established a review docket for juveniles placed on probation, allowing the juveniles to return for periodic review as they progress through probation. And whereas Commissioner Clark has received numerous awards, including the Missouri Supreme Court Judicial Excellence Award, and was named a legal legend by the Mound City Bar Association. If you don't know who the Mound City Bar Association is, it's the Association of Black Lawyers. Other awards include the prestigious Jordan McNeil Award presented by the Missouri Legislative Black Caucus and a Distinguished Citizen Award for the St. Louis Argus newspaper. She received the Ina M. Boone Social Justice Award from the St. Louis City chapter of the NAACP. Commissioner Clark will be inducted in the St. Louis University School of Law Order of the Fleur de Lis Hall of Fame in its highest distinction in a ceremony January 25th, 2019. And whereas Commissioner Anne Marie Clark is the daughter of the late Thomas P. Clark, an attorney who practiced for many years in legal services for Eastern Missouri, legal aid, and the late Mary V. Clark, a registered nurse, she is married to Mr. Richard K. Gaines, President and CEO of Richard K. Gaines and Association, an insurance brokerage firm. She is a charter member of the St. Louis Metropolitan Alumni Chapter of the Delta Sigma Theta Sorority, Inc., life member, and a member of St. Alfonso's Rock Catholic Church. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Board of Aldermen of the City of St. Louis that we pause to recognize and celebrate Commissioner Anne Marie Clark and acknowledge her accomplishments and contributions to the City of St. Louis. We further direct the clerk of this board to spread a copy of this resolution across the minutes of this proceedings and to prepare a commemorative copy to that end that it may be presented to the honoree at a time and place deemed appropriate by the sponsor. Introduced this 11th day of January by the Honorable Marlene Davis, Alderwoman 19th Ward, the Honorable Louis E. Reed, President of the Board of Aldermen, and the Honorable Sharon Tyus, Alderwoman of the 1st Ward. I'm going to let Mavis speak, but I want to say that it is so hard to be a female in any situation, especially when you're trailblazing. When you are a black female in the legal profession, it is almost impossible. The first time I ever showed up in court, the people said to me, the lawyer said, honey, when is the lawyer going to show up? And I said, honey, the lawyer has shown up. So, and Anne Marie was out here before me, so she was one of the people who was a trailblazer even before me. And I got my law license in '87. So I'm very appreciative of people like her that go before me. They made it possible for me. I hope I make it possible for other people, because how you pass it on is you do for other people and then they do for someone else. You don't just become the first, you become the second, the third, the fifth, and that's what makes it important, so that we are the fabric of American life. Anne Marie Clark is one of the fabrics of the American life.
I'm going to yield my time to Judge Edwards and also to Richard. And would you come forth? Danielle Carr is the president of Mound City Bar Association. I just want to start off by saying how hard it was to keep a surprise. But through all of the years, you know, we always look for people that we stand on their shoulders and that are mentors. And Anne Marie Clark has been a mentor of mine, I guess, since the very beginning. I've always looked up to her, and it's just a pleasure to be here. And one of the things that I know that Anne Marie embodies not only in her talk, but also in her walk. And those are the two greatest commandments. First, that you love God, and the second is that you love your neighbor as yourself. And so I will yield the rest of that time to Judge Jimmy Edwards.
Thank you, President Reed, members of the St. Louis Board of Aldermen. Thank you so very much for recognizing my friend, Commissioner Anne Marie Clark. I had an opportunity to work with Anne while I was the presiding judge of the juvenile court, and she made sea changes as it relates to children in foster care. So I am very, very proud of her. I would be remiss if I did not acknowledge Judge Michael Jameson from St. Louis County. Thank you, Judge, for being here. We certainly appreciate your service in St. Louis County. Ladies and gentlemen of the Board of Aldermen, thank you so very much.
You know, I've been before you before, generally for things related to public education and hopefully the community good. As the husband of a particularly important woman who never sees herself as particularly important, I thank you for honoring my wife.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Danielle Carr, and I serve as president of the Mound City Bar Association. And it is my distinct honor and pleasure to be before Judge Clark here today to extend Mound City Bar's well wishes and congratulations for her continuous and hard service to the organization. As this was stated earlier, she served as president of the Bar Association, and she never left the organization, even since she left as the leader of the organization. We love her dearly, and we're looking forward to having her more of her time and in service to the organization. So I want to take this opportunity to present a lifetime judicial membership pin to Judge Clark, and I hope she will wear it proudly and remember all that she's done for the bar and all that she will do. Thank you, Judge Clark.
Could all the family members and relatives please join us up here? And I know Judge Jamison join us up here also. Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Alderman from the 14th.
Yes, I think I've only met Anne Marie in passing, but as a former educator, I believe that her work helped us save some kids. So I'm familiar with her work. I want to commend her and recognize her. I think she's added a lot to the landscape of St. Louis. She's helped many children to probably grow into productive and proud members of our St. Louis society. And I want to congratulate her and recognize and take my hat off to Anne Marie Clark.
Alderman from the 6th.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good morning, Anne Marie. It's wonderful to see you and Richard up on the dais. Just wanted to thank you for your years of service to the city. I had the pleasure of working in the juvenile court system as a volunteer guardian ad litem and had some cases in front of the commissioner, and she had to make some very tough decisions every single day for some of our city's most vulnerable residents, and I think did an exceptional job. She also went to high school with my mother, and so I've spent some time with her at Rosati Kane events. Congratulations, and it's been a pleasure to get to know you.
Alderman from the 12th.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. Ms. Clark, congratulations. I've heard of your name many a times. I've been with the city for a long time. I think you've done a wonderful job. I wish you well on everything that you do in the future, and it's been a pleasure, and the help you've given to the citizens in the city of St. Louis is commendable. And Mr. President, I don't know, is it proper at this time to add my name to the resolution, or I would ask that it be embanked?
It's been moved by the Alderman from the 12th, seconded by the Alderman from 13th and the 19th that we make this resolution in bank. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Madam Clerk, please direct the Sergeant of Arms to create another copy of this resolution in bank. Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Alderman from the 19th.
If I didn't say, hi, Judge Cora. Let me just tell you a couple of things real quick. The interactions of the world are amazing. And all the many things that we've had happen in a positive way has been influenced by you on wearing many different hats, not just a judge. And then you throw in your mate over there. You all are a dynamic duo. So I want to say congratulations to you, but most especially thank you. Because I remember how you mentored me when I started doing some different things around town. I appreciate that. You are so respected. You're just so respected. And so thank you again.
Alderman from the 5th.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. I would just like to rise and congratulate Judge Clark as well. I mean, your work speaks for itself, and I had a chance to work with you briefly when we served on the AMI Kids Board, but just the family history goes back pretty deep, and to echo what my colleague from the 19th said, you and your husband, Mr. Gaines, you all are an amazing St. Louis power couple, and I'm grateful to have known you and known your work and your leadership, and I just thank you for all that you've done for the city of St. Louis.
Alderman from the 4th.
Thank you, Mr. President and members of the board. I don't know Ms. Clark. but I know her sister Thomasina and her husband very well. And you've done a great job, and your good deeds spread throughout the city. I've seen you on numerous occasions, but I haven't had the acquaintance of meeting you like I should. But I'm proud of you, and continue to do what you do.
Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Alderman from the 18th?
They don't want me to speak. Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. First, let me say congratulations to you for your many contributions to the city of St. Louis. You know, everybody makes some kind of impact, some kind of way. Whether we like those impacts or not, whether their impact makes a foul odor or not, there is an impact. Yours, however, is the type that we would like to remember and to know and to build upon. Your impact has helped change and enrich the fabric of this city. Not everybody has that capacity. That's a talent. That is a gift. And you saw some kind of way to provide those gifts to this city here by the river. For some strange reason, you stayed here and did that. And you have made this place an even more beneficial place to live. That was a commitment, because we know St. Louis has some issues, some hard issues to deal with. That was a commitment, and we appreciate you for doing so. And so, just by this small piece of paper, it's an opportunity to congratulate you, but it gives us a chance to stand up here and say some words to you and let you know how much you are appreciated. Certainly, I too know Thomasina Clark for a very long time. We've sat there across the table and done all kind of stuff, sometimes that perhaps we should not have. But it's been some good things. And so I know this family and know from where it comes. So again, thank you, and recognize that you have done something significant and something that the rest of us will remember. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Any further discussion? I just want to also thank and congratulate you on your many works up until now on behalf of residents and all across this city and people now probably all across this country that have had their lives enriched by the works that you've laid down. So this resolution is but a piece of paper, but it is the highest honor the board has to give to any organization or individual. And what it does, it takes some of your many works up until this point in time and commits them to the permanent records of our city. So that 100, 200 years from now, when you read about the rebirth of our city, when people begin to research and read about the courts being reformed and the Bar Association and all the things that you've touched, they will read amongst those records Anne Marie Clark and know that you passed this way and you made such a significant contribution that this day we pause in our deliberations to recognize you. So I am so honored to stand here today with you and also Richard and the rest of your family. They are indeed a power couple. I can tell you that because I would not have been the first African American elected to the Ward 6 had it not been for these two. When your neighbors got scared and ran away, you two stood in the breach, so I appreciate you because I know that was a heavy lift. I thank both of you for that. But congratulations on a job well done.
Anne Marie, you got yourself together? We don't like to be surprised. As lawyers, you like to be prepared so you can know what you're going to say. So when you're surprised, you're like, what? Let me get me together. You've done great things. We're here to honor those great things. I would like to present you this resolution as a symbol of our appreciation and give you a chance to address this esteemed board.
Good morning and thank you. As a judge of the Juvenile Division, this month marks my 33rd year serving the city of St. Louis and the state of Missouri. I can think of virtually no time that I've been speechless, but I am today. And I thank all of you, Mavis and Sharon and President Reed, and my husband who told me a while ago that I would need to come to City Hall to be with him as he received a proclamation, and that's what I was expecting to do. So I cleared my docket today and actually posted on Facebook that that I was coming to receive to be with my husband as he received an award. So people are congratulating him. But I thank you so much. And the words, as you've heard from others this morning, from Mavis, this is about my work and my service has been touching the lives of people, young people, families in the city of St. Louis, as I explained to people from age 0 to 21 and beyond, because I continue to have families who come back, young people who come back, children, second generation, and in some cases almost third generations of individuals who have been before this court, who have been before me, who have in some way had someone to reach out, touch, and listen and give them the attention that their case needed at that moment and at that time. And that's what I've tried to do. That's what I have wanted to demonstrate, that someone, and that was me, but that someone cared about their situation and their problem, and demonstrating to them that they would receive that help, whatever that help was, and trying to help people be able, and help the young people particularly, be able to move on, to develop, to grow up and to develop into the individuals that we wanted them to be, that we would like them to be. I thank you so much for recognizing me. I am planning to retire in the next month or two. I'm not sure of the exact date. And that's why all of this becomes just all the more touching to be recognized for the work that I have done. But doing it because I know that we are charged with doing for those not able to do for themselves and doing for the least of those. So again, thank you so very much.
This is on you three on the bottom step and everybody behind.
Well, you should put the president of the bar. Okay. No, they want the lady to look. That's what I told her. Lady Gorgeous. Does anybody want me to use her camera? Yes, because my chip is full, so. Okay, I'll go there. I can stand it.
Let's give one more big round of applause to Judge Anne Marie Clark for her works. It's been moved and seconded that we adopt our courtesy resolution calendar. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? With that, we return to our regular order of business. Introduction of honored guests. Any introduction of honored guests? Alderman from 13th.
Thank you. Mr. President, members of the board, I'd like to have my honored guest. I'll be the first to introduce him. I believe the Mike Dauphin, the assessor, was here a moment ago, and Michael Butler, the new recorder of deeds, and Jeff Hans from the Carpenters Union. Thank you.
Alderman from the 27th.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to introduce Mr. Frederick Surgery of Plumber and Pipe Fitters Union.
Welcome, Fred. Alderman from the 7th.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members of the board, I'd like to have as my honored guest today my friend Jane Duker and Jeff Abusi from Regional Strategies. Thank you.
Alderman from the 14th, and then here.
Okay. Good morning, Mr. President and esteemed colleagues. I'd like to have as my honored guest Nathan Lett from Firefighters Local 73, Joyce Roberts from the St. Louis School Board, Jim Merkel, my constituent from the South Sider and North Sider, David Sweeney, Clinton McBride from Laborers Local 110.
Alderman from the 11th.
Thank you, Mr. President and members of the board. I'd like to have as my special guests Tim Green with IBW Local 1 and NECA.
Alderman from the 15th.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. I'd like to have as my special guest today all the folks in the balcony from CAPCAR, the ACLU, and Privacy Watch.
Any further? Alderman from the 1st.
Mr. President, members of the board, I'd like to have as my guest Jamala Rogers, who needs no introduction because she has so many organizations. I'm not going to try to name them all. Joyce Roberts, the new elected member of the school board. I saw young Mr. Butler around here someplace, the new recorder of deed. And that's it. Thank you very much. Okay, there he is.
Alderman from the 21st.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to welcome along with the First Ward Alderwoman, Dr. Joyce Roberts, our new school board member, and Percy Green III, the Vice President of Fire.
Alderman from the 22nd.
Thank you. Good morning, Mr. President, members of the board. I'd like to have as my honored guests Ms. Sheila Jones with Ameren, Missouri, Chris Pickle with AT&T, and Leroy Grant with AT&T, as well as Lucinda Frazier, who is committee woman of the 3rd Ward.
Any further? Alderman from the 23rd.
Yes, Mr. President, members of the board, I'd like to have as my special guest the committee woman of the 24th Ward, Terry Powers.
Any further introductions? Any further introductions? Alderman from the 18th, you recognize on approval of the minutes.
Mr. President, may I make some introductions?
Yes, yes, you can.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. I'd like to introduce some special guests. Today, Mr. Stephen Rose used to be my intern here many years ago. You can stand up over there. That's before all the beard. And we also have representatives in the balcony from Privacy Watch, OBS, CABCAR, and Power Missouri and Graham. Those in the balcony. Raise your hand there as our special guest today. Thank you.
Any further introductions? Any further introductions? Alderman from the 10th like to wrap us up.
You broke up the Joe caucus there, sir. Good morning, Mr. President, members of the Board of Aldermen. Today, is January 11th. On this day in 1964, the Surgeon General decided that cigarette smoking was hazardous to our health, and in 1973, the world ended when the American League designated the designated hitter as a proper thing to do. But more importantly, on this day in 2019, Dave Sweeney has actually worn the ugliest pair of pants I've ever seen in my entire life. Come on, Milo's here, Dave. Take a walk around the dais.
Alderman from the 18th, you recognize on approval of the minutes.
Mr. President, members of the board, I move that the minutes of the December 7th and 14th meeting be approved.
Moved by the Alderman from the 18th, seconded by the Alderman from the 12th. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Report of city officials.
Report of city officials can be found in A, B, and C of the agenda and have been placed in the aldermen's mailboxes. Dear members of the board, I have the pleasure to submit the following individual for appointment to the Metropolitan Taxi Cab Commission. The appointment of Matt Vianello, who resides in the 15th Ward and whose term will expire September 30th, 2021, who is replacing David McNutt, who will now serve as chairman. I respectfully request your approval of the appointment. Sincerely, Lyda Cruson, Mayor.
Alderman from 15th, you recognize on the mayor's appointment to Metropolitan Taxi Cab Commission.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members of the board, I move to approve the mayor's appointment to the Metropolitan Taxi Cab Commission.
Moved by the Alderman from the 15th, entertain a second. Seconded by the Alderman from the 12th. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
That is the extent of report of city officials.
We'll dispense with line item 7. Would anyone like to take any bills off of any of our informal calendars? Alderman from the 19th.
Thank you, Mr. President and members of the board. I'd like to remove Board Bill 104 from the informal calendar and place it back in Transportation and Commerce Committee.
All right. Would you like to make a motion that, to refer it back to committee?
I'd like to make a motion to refer it back to committee.
It's been moved by the Alderman from the 19th, seconded by the Alderman from 13th and Alderman from the 25th, that we refer Board Bill 104 back to committee. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Madam Clerk, please assign Board Bill 104 to Transportation.
So noted.
Would anyone like to take any further bills off of any of our informal calendars? Would anyone like to take any further bills off of any of our informal calendars? We will dispense with line items 9 through 10, first reading of board bills.
Board Bill 190, sponsored by Alderwoman Davis, an ordinance recommended and approved by the Airport Commission, the Board of Public Service, the Board of Estimate and Apportionment, establishing and authorizing a public works and improvement program at St. Louis Lambert International Airport, consisting of capital improvement projects entitled Fiscal Year 2019B Project Equipment List at a total estimate cost of $6 million, authorizing an appropriation in the amount of $6 million, $588,664 from the Airport Development Fund, $5,411,036 from the Passenger Facility Charge Fund to be expended for the payment of costs for work, services, materials, and equipment, authorizing the mayor and comptroller to enter into and execute easement agreements, granting such easements or right-of-ways as are necessary to the administration or implementation of airfield building and environments project, authorizing and directing the Director of Airports with the approval of the Board of Estimate and Apportionment to let contracts providing for mapping, appraisal, escrow service, title work, ground maintenance service, security services, legal services, and other related services for the implementation and administration of the airfield building and environments project. Board Bill 191, sponsored by Alderwoman Davis, an ordinance recommended and approved by the Airport Commission, the Comptroller, the Board of Estimate and Apportionment, making certain findings with respect to transfer up to $13,727,769 of excess monies that the city, the owner and operator of St. Louis Lambert International Airport, intends to transfer from the Debt Service Stabilization Fund to the Airport Revenue Fund in accordance with Section 516.B of the Lambert St. Louis International Airport indenture of trust between the city as grantor and UMB Bank N.A. as trustee dated as of October 15, 1984, as amended and restated as of July 1, 2009, as amended and supplemented, authorizing a transfer in the amount not to exceed $13,727,769 from the DSSF into the Revenue Fund during the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2018, to be used to make funds available to migrate rates on an annual basis during the term of the airport use and lease agreement commencing July 1, 2016, containing a severability clause and containing an emergency clause. Board Bill 192, sponsored by Alderwoman Davis, an ordinance establishing and creating a planned unit development district for a portion of city blocks 3926 and 4585 to be known as Olive West Planned Unit Development District, containing a severability and an emergency clause. Board Bill 193, sponsored by Alderwoman Davis, an ordinance recommended by the Airport Commission, the Board of Estimate and Apportionment, authorizing and directing the Director of Airports and the Comptroller to enter into and execute a second restated and amended lease agreement, Northern Tract site, between the city, the owner and operator of St. Louis Lambert International Airport, which is located in the city in St. Louis County, and Bi-National Gateway Terminal LLC, a limited liability company organized and existing under the laws of State of Missouri, granting to the leasee the right to occupy and use leased premises consisting of approximately 61.10 acres and improvements thereon, commonly known as the Northern Tract site, in Section 201 and Exhibit A and Exhibit B of the lease agreement, in order to demolish any existing improvements that are not retained improvements, B, construct new improvements in order to accommodate international cargo enterprises and other cargo operations and distribution facilities, C, develop and operate a fixed-base operator facility, D, perform all operation and functions that are incidental or necessary to such use and develop or authorize in the lease agreement AL-094, authorizing the director and directing the mayor, the comptroller, the register, the city councilor, the director of airports, and other officers, agents, and employees of the city. Board Bill 194, sponsored by Alderman Moore, an ordinance approving a redevelopment plan for Cottage, North Taylor, Maffitt, and Cora. Board Bill 195, sponsored by Alderman Oldenburg, an ordinance recommended by the Planning Commission pertaining to the Lighthouse Area Special Use District, repealing Section 6 of Ordinance 70557 relating to conditional use regulations for the Lighthouse Area Special Use District and enacting in lieu thereof a new section on the same subject matter and containing a severability and emergency clause. Board Bill 196, sponsored by Alderman Oldenburg, an ordinance recommended by the Planning Commission pertaining to the Zoning Code, Title 26, amending Chapter 26.08 of the Revised Code by adding definitions for the terms micro wireless facility, small wireless facility, utility stations, utility towers, repealing Section 1 of Ordinance 7055, codified as Chapter 26.20 of the Revised Code pertaining to the A single-family dwelling district and enacting a new chapter in lieu thereof on the same subject matter, repealing Section 5 of Ordinance 64868, codified as Section 20.24.020 of the Revised Code pertaining to the use regulations of B two-family dwelling district and enacting in lieu thereof a new section on the same subject matter, repealing Section 2 of Ordinance 70812, codified as Section 26.40.025 of the Revised Code concerning use regulation for the F Neighborhood Commercial District and enacting in lieu thereof a new section on the same subject matter, repealing Section 3 of Ordinance 70812, codified as Section 26.52.020 and 26.52.025 of the Revised Code pertaining to the use regulation and condition use of the I Central Business District and enacting in lieu thereof a new section on the same subject matter, repealing Section 5 of Ordinance 70812, codified as Section 20.60.2020 of the Revised Code pertaining to the use of regulation, the K Unrestricted District, and enacting in lieu thereof a new section on the same subject matter containing a severability and an emergency clause. Board Bill 197, sponsored by Alderman Oldenburg, an ordinance recommended by the Planning Commission pertaining to the Forest Park Southeast Farm-Based District, amending Ordinance 70732 by amending the definition of utility communication uses and repealing and replacing Table 5.13, repealing Section 1 of Ordinance 70732 and enacting a new Section 1 in lieu thereof on the same subject matter and containing severability and emergency clause. Board Bill 198, sponsored by Alderman Oldenburg, an ordinance recommended by the Planning Commission pertaining to the Central West End Farm-Based District, amending Ordinance 69406 by amending the definition for utility communication uses, repealing and replacing Table 5.13, and updating the regulatory plan maps, repealing Section 1 of Ordinance 69406, enacting a new Section 1 in lieu thereof on same subject matter and containing a severability and emergency clause. Board Bill 199, sponsored by Alderwoman Davis, an ordinance approving a redevelopment plan for 3,000 locusts. Board Bill 200, sponsored by Alderman Rhodey, an ordinance repealing paragraph F of Section 2 of Ordinance 63780, approved on May 31st, 1996, as amended in Ordinance 64550, approved January the 15th, 1999, and Ordinance 68236, approved January the 16th, 2009, and in lieu thereof of a new paragraph F enacted, extending the period of time during which the Central West End Southeast Special Business District shall be permitted to collect a tax within the boundaries of the district, and increasing the amount of such tax to an amount not to exceed 85 cents per hundred of assessed valuation of all real property within such district, and to amend and restate the use for which the additional revenue produced by such tax may be put to including cleaning, landscaping, maintenance, security, public safety, purchase, installation of public infrastructure, public transportation, administration, and contingency fund for such categories, and containing effectiveness and emergency clauses. Board Bill 201, sponsored by Alderman Rhodey, an ordinance submitting to qualified voters residing in Central West End Southeast Special Business District, as established in Ordinance Number 63780, approved on May 31st, 1996, amended in Ordinance Number 64550, approved January the 15th, 1999, and amended in Ordinance Number 68236, approved January the 16th, 2009, a proposal to extend the levy of tax on real property located in said district for an additional 10 years, and increasing the amount of such tax to an amount not to exceed 85 cents per hundred assessed valuation, submitting said proposal to the voters of said district at the general election on April 2nd, 2019, and containing an emergency clause. Board Bill 202, sponsored by Alderman Cone, an ordinance approving a redevelopment plan for Merrimack, South Compton, Bates, and South Grand. Board Bill 203, sponsored by Alderwoman Ingracia, an ordinance pertaining to the permit fees established pursuant to the city bike share policy established and authorized by St. Louis City Ordinance 70710, establishing a micro-mobility fund and requiring the permit fees collected pursuant to City of St. Louis bike share policy to be deposited into the micro-mobility fund. Board Bill 204, sponsored by Alderman Oldenburg, an ordinance amending Section 3 of Ordinance Number 70892 pertaining to the establishment of procedures and requirements for the co-location and deployment of small wireless facilities in the right-of-way and city property by adding a new subsection L to Section 3 of the Ordinance 70892 to permit the city to require reasonable, technically feasible, non-discriminatory, and technologically neutral design or concealment measures in a historic district, and containing an emergency clause. Board Bill 205, sponsored by Alderman Vollmer, an ordinance approving a redevelopment plan for 1929 Edwards and 5210 Daggett. Board Bill 206, sponsored by Alderman Vollmer, an ordinance approving a redevelopment plan for 5126 Daggett and 5135 Daggett. Board Bill 207, sponsored by Alderman Kotar, an ordinance approving a redevelopment plan for 200 North 4th Street. Board Bill 208, sponsored by Alderwoman Ingracia, an ordinance approving a redevelopment plan for 2647 through 2653 Locust. Board Bill 209, sponsored by Alderwoman Spencer, an ordinance approving a redevelopment plan for 3535 Michigan. Board Bill 210, sponsored by Alderman Rhodey, an ordinance approving a redevelopment plan for 4325 through 4333 Swan. Board Bill 211, sponsored by Alderman Gunther, an ordinance approving a redevelopment plan for 2821 through 2823 Iowa. Board Bill 212, sponsored by Alderwoman Ingracia, an ordinance pertaining to the duties of the Commissioner of Correction and St. Louis City Sheriff, amending Title 16, Chapter 16.16 by adding a new section to Chapter 16.16, new section 16.16.350, requiring that the physical health needs of pregnant inmates, including providing for adequate nutrition, clothing, continued adequate access to prenatal care, and all other pregnancy-related health services, and to limit the restraint of pregnant inmates throughout their pregnancy and postpartum period while in custody. And new section 16.16.360 requiring adequate feminine hygiene supplies for all female and or menstruating inmates to be provided and containing an emergency clause. Board Bill 213, sponsored by Alderwoman Navarro, an ordinance pertaining to the parking within the Skinker for Quad Parking District, establishing the location and restriction for curb parking in the restricted parking zone within the Skinker for Quad Parking District, authorizing the placement of permit parking only signs within the district, and prohibiting the parking within the district of any vehicle which does not display the authorized permit, containing definitions, a penalty clause, and an emergency clause. Board Bill 214, sponsored by Alderman Moore, an ordinance repealing Ordinance 70858, pertaining to the establishment of a two-way stop site at the intersection of Warney and Lexington, and establishing a three-way stop site at the intersection of Warney and Lexington, regulating all traffic traveling northbound and southbound on Warney at Lexington, and regulating all traffic traveling westbound on Lexington at Warney, and containing an emergency clause. Board Bill 215, sponsored by Alderman Kotor, an ordinance submitting to the qualified voters of the city a gross receipts tax to be imposed on telecommunications and fiber network providers as set forth herein, providing for an election to be held therefore, and the manner of voting thereat, and upon passage of said ballot measure, and amendment to Ordinance 67717 is codified in Section 23.34.020 of the Revised Code, and Sections 23.34.010 through 23.34.030 of the Revised Code, reflecting gross receipts tax to be imposed as approved by the voters of the city, establishing a telecommunication gross receipts tax fund, and requiring the gross receipts tax collected pursuant to Section 23.34.010 through 23.34.030 of the Revised Code to be deposited into the telecommunications gross receipt funds to be appropriated and expended to further smart city initiatives in the city. Board Bill 216, sponsored by Alderman Kennedy, pursuant to Ordinance 68937, an ordinance authorizing the honorary street name Homer G. Phillips Way, which shall begin at the intersection of Albert and Fountain and run northern Albert at the intersection of Albert and Maple. Board Bill 216, sponsored by Alderman 217, sponsored by Alderman Kennedy, an ordinance repealing Ordinance Number 69984, which pertains to the creation and administration of the City of St. Louis Civilian Oversight Board, codified in Section 3.140.010 through 3.140.080 of the City Code of Ordinances, and creating a new St. Louis Civilian Oversight Board as provided in 590.653 Revised Missouri, which shall have the power to receive complaints, make findings, and recommend disciplinary actions based upon its review and investigation of complaints by members of the public alleging misconduct by members of the Division of
Alderwoman,
Police.
please state your point of order.
I hear like 7 conversations going on. I can hardly hear the clerk, assistant clerk reading for all the noise that I hear. Thanks.
Please hold it down while the clerk is reading. I know we have a really long first reading calendar, and she's coming to an end, but please keep the conversations to a minimum. Please, proceed.
Complaints by members of the public alleging misconduct by members of the police, division of the police involving excessive use of force, sexual harassment, abuse of authority, discourtesy, or use of offensive language, including but not limited to slurs relating to race, ethnicity, religion, gender, sexual orientation, gender identity, immigration status, and disability, and containing a severability clause and emergency clause. Board Bill 218, sponsored by Alderman Vollmer, an ordinance approving a redevelopment plan for 5726 Reber Place. Board Bill 219, sponsored by Alderman Kennedy, an ordinance setting forth regulations for the use of surveillance technology by the city, requiring surveillance technology usage rules and regulations and guidelines be established and approved by the Board of Aldermen before such technology may be used and plans may be put into practice, and containing a severability clause and emergency clause. That is the extent of first reading of board bills.
Alderman from the 28th.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move to suspend the rules to introduce Board Bills 220 and 221 for first reading.
It's been moved by the Alderman from the 28th and seconded by the Alderman from the 6th. Any discussion? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderwoman Tyus. Alderwoman Middlebrook. Alderman Bosley. Alderman Moore. Alderwoman Hubbard. Alderwoman Ingracia. Alderman Kotar. Alderwoman Rice. Alderman Gunther. Alderman Vollmer. Alderwoman Morton. Alderman Ornowitz. Alderwoman Murphy. Alderwoman Howard. Alderwoman Green. Alderman Oldenburg. Alderman Rhodey. Alderman Kennedy. Alderwoman Davis. Alderwoman Spencer. Alderman Muhammad. Alderman Boyd. Alderman Vaccaro. Alderman Ogilvy. Alderman Cone. Alderwoman Boyd. Alderwoman Navarro. President Reed.
Aye.
Alderman Bosley. Alderman Vollmer. Alderman Kennedy. "24 aye votes and 1 present.
By your vote, you sustain the motion. Alderman from the 28th. Madam Clerk, please read the forward for Board Bills 220 and 221.
Board Bill 220, sponsored by President Reed, an ordinance approving a redevelopment plan for 5467 through 5559 Delmore. Board Bill 221, sponsored by Alderwoman Navarro, an ordinance approving a redevelopment plan for 5539 through 5551 Persian. That is the extent of first reading of board bills.
Madam Clerk, please place Board Bills 220 and 221 in the Neighborhood Development.
So noted.
Reference to committee.
Board bills to the Transportation and Commerce Committee. Board Bill 190, 191, 193. To the Neighborhood Development Committee. Board Bill 199, 202, 205, 207, 208.
206.
I'm sorry, 205, 206, 208, 209, 210, 211, 218, 220, and 221. To the HUD's Committee. Board Bill 192, 194, 195, 196, 197, 198, 207. To the Ways and Means Committee, Board Bill 200, 201, 215. To the Streets Committee, Board Bill 203, 204, 213, 214, and 216. To the Public Safety Committee, Board Bill 212, 217, and 219. That is the extent of reference to committee.
Second reading.
The following board bills were reported out of the HUD Committee. Board Bill 101, sponsored by Alderwoman Hubbard, an ordinance pertaining to the Owls Restaurant located at 1200 North First Street, having as subject matter the designation of the property as a City of St. Louis landmark containing definitions, landmark standards, and a severability clause. Board Bill 161, sponsored by Alderwoman Ingracia, an ordinance pertaining to special use districts, establishing the Lafayette Square Area Special Use District and containing an emergency clause. That is the extent of second reading.
We'll dispense with line item 14, perfection consent.
Board Bill 143, Committee Sub, sponsored by Alderwoman Navarro, an ordinance repealing paragraph C of Section 2 of Ordinance 63777, approved on June 4th, 1996, as amended by Ordinance 64546, approved on December 18th, 1998, by Ordinance 68200, approved on June 4th, 2008, and in lieu thereof, a new paragraph is enacted extending the period of time during which the Cathedral Square Special Business District shall be permitted to collect tax within the boundaries of the district and containing effectiveness and emergency clauses. Board Bill 148, Committee Sub, sponsored by Alderwoman Navarro, an ordinance repealing paragraph F of Section 2 of Ordinance 62622, approved May 29, 1992, as amended by Ordinance 63840, approved July 19, 1996, amended by Ordinance 64935, approved on May 17, 2000, as amended by Ordinance 68202, approved December 8, 2008, and in lieu thereof, a new paragraph is enacted extending the period of time during which the Central West End North Special Business District shall be permitted to collect a tax within the boundaries of the district therein established and containing effectiveness and emergency clauses. Board Bill 159, sponsored by Alderman Williamson and Jeffrey Boyd, pursuant to Ordinance 68937, an ordinance authorizing the honorary street name Von Versen Avenue shall begin at the intersection of Hamilton and Enright and run east on Enright to the intersection of Goodfellow Boulevard and Enright. Board Bill 165, Committee Sub, sponsored by Alderwoman Davis, Alderwoman Middlebrook, Alderman Moore, and Alderman Boyd, pursuant to Ordinance 68937, an ordinance authorizing the honorary street name Cedric the Entertainer Way, which shall begin at the intersection of North Vanderveer Avenue and Olive Street and run north on North Vanderveer Avenue to the intersection of North Vanderveer Avenue and Washington Boulevard Avenue. Board Bill 178, sponsored by Alderman Ogilvy, an ordinance authorizing and directing the mayor and comptroller to execute a permanent irrevocable easement which shall give, grant, extend, and confer on the city, its agents, successors, and assigns the exclusive right to build and maintain a span of sidewalk improvements along the east side of Sulphur from the intersection of Sulphur and Manchester to the driveway to the north and containing a severability clause. Board Bill 179, sponsored by Alderman Ornowitz, an ordinance establishing a two-way stop site at the intersection of Atkins and Poping, regulating all traffic traveling northbound and southbound on Atkins and containing an emergency clause. Board Bill 181, sponsored by Alderman Boyd, an ordinance establishing a temporary three-way stop site which shall be and remain in place for a period of 6 months starting from the date on which said stop site is installed at the intersection of Blackstone and Wells, regulating all traffic traveling eastbound and westbound on Wells at Blackstone and regulating all traffic traveling southbound on Blackstone at Wells and containing an emergency clause. That is the extent of perfection consent.
Alderman from the 18th, you recognize on the motion for the perfection consent calendar.
Mr. President, members of the board, I move for adoption of the perfection consent calendar.
Moved by the Alderman from the 18th, seconded by the Alderman from the 27th. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. We'll dispense with line item 16, third reading consent.
Board Bill 167, Board Bill 172, Board Bill 174.
Alderman from the 18th, you recognize on the motion for the third reading consent calendar.
Mr. President, members of the board, I move for adoption of the third reading consent calendar.
Moved by the Alderman from the 18th, entertain a second, seconded by the Alderman from the 27th. Unfortunately, we cannot do previous roll because we need a roll call on this one. It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderwoman Tyus. Alderwoman Middlebrook. Alderman Bosley. Alderman Moore. Alderwoman Hubbard. Alderwoman Ingracia. Alderman Kotar. Alderwoman Rice. Alderman Gunther. Alderman Vollmer. Alderwoman Martin. Alderman Ornowitz. Alderwoman Murphy. Alderwoman Howard. Alderwoman Green. Alderman Oldenburg. Alderman Rhodey. Alderman Kennedy. Alderwoman Davis. Alderwoman Spencer. Alderman Muhammad. Alderman Boyd. Alderman Vaccaro. Alderman Ogilvy. Alderman Cone. Alderwoman Boyd. Alderwoman Navarro. President Reed.
Aye.
Alderman Vollmer. Alderwoman Murphy. Alderman Muhammad. 27 aye votes.
By vote, you sustain the motion. Alderman from the 18th and third read and finally passed the aforementioned bills. Third reading, report of engrossments.
We have none.
Report of enrollment.
Board Bill 167, Board Bill 172, and Board Bill 174.
All other business being suspended, the President shall in open session affix his signature hereto to the end that these may become law. First reading.
Resolution 214, sponsored by Alderman Rhodey, the establishment of the Central West End Southeast Special Business District.
Alderman from the 17th, you recognize on the first reading of Resolution 214.
Yes, Mr. President, I move that we pass resolution number, whatever number that was, I'm sorry.
Would you like to ask for
Unanimous consent, excuse me.
hearing no objection to unanimous consent, please proceed, Alderman.
Yes, Mr. President, I ask for passage of that resolution.
It's been moved by the Alderman from the 17th that we adopt Resolution 214. Entertain a second on that motion. Seconded by the Alderman from the 25th. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, motion carries.
Resolution 215, sponsored by Alderman Kennedy, pursuant to Ordinance 67794, the Public Safety Committee does hereby approve the recommendations of the Public Safety Committee for the appropriation of crime prevention program funds for the fiscal year 2018 attached hereto as Exhibit A, which is incorporated herein by reference.
Alderman from the 18th, you recognize on the first reading Resolution 215.
Mr. President, members of the board, I move this be sent to the Public Safety Committee.
Been moved by the Alderman from the 18th, seconded by the Alderman from the 19th. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Madam Clerk, please sign Resolution 215, the Public Safety.
So noted. That is the extent of first reading of resolution.
Second reading.
The HUD Committee approved the adoption of Saladin Martinez to the St. Louis Housing Authority Commission. Saladin Martinez. Saladin.
Alderman from the 7th, you recognize on the adoption of Saladin Martinez.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. I move to approve the mayor's appointment of Sal Martinez to the St. Louis Housing Authority.
Yeah. It's been moved by the Alderman from the 7th, seconded by the Alderman from the 25th, and let's just call him Sal Martinez.
Agreed.
All of us know him by Sal Martinez. It's been moved by the Alderman from the 7th, seconded by the Alderman from the 25th. Alderman from the 1st.
Mr. President, members of the board, I'd ask that this be sent to the committee. I watched for it to be having a hearing, so of course the hearing was Wednesday, which I already had an appointment. I am going to vote present because I still have concerns, and I will address them directly with Sal about potential conflicts of interest. So for that reason, I am asking for a conflict of interest.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I'm asking for a roll call.
Roll call.
Okay, thank
All right. It's been moved by the Alderman from the 7th, seconded by the Alderman from the 25th. Any further discussion? Any further discussion? It's been a request for roll call. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderwoman Tyus. Alderwoman Middlebrook. Alderman Bosley. Alderman Moore. Alderwoman Hubbard. Alderwoman Ingracia. Alderman Kotar. Alderwoman Rice. Alderman Gunther. Alderman Vollmer. Alderwoman Martin. Alderman Ornowitz. Alderwoman Murphy. Alderwoman Howard. Alderwoman Green. Alderman Oldenburg. Alderman Rhodey. Alderman Kennedy. Alderwoman Davis. Alderwoman Spencer. Alderman Muhammad. Alderman Boyd. Alderman Vaccaro. Alderman Ogilvy. Alderman Cone. Alderwoman Boyd. Alderwoman Navarro. President Reed.
Aye.
Alderman Ornowitz. Alderwoman Howard. Alderman Muhammad. Alderwoman Boyd. $25 aye votes and 1 present.
By vote, staying the motion, Alderman from the 7th, and adopted the mayor's appointment to the St. Louis Housing Authority Commission. Anything further?
That is the extent of second reading resolutions.
Miscellaneous unfinished business.
We have none.
Announcements.
Wednesday, January the 16th, HUD's Committee, 9 a.m. in the Kennedy Room. Thursday, January the 17th, Neighborhood Development Meeting, 9 a.m. in the Kennedy Room. And Friday, January the 18th, full board meeting. TNC is 1 p.m. on Thursday, January the 17th. Friday, January the 18th is the full board meeting, 10 a.m. in the chambers. That's the extent of the announcements.
Any further announcements? Any further announcements? Alderman from the 18th, announcement.
Yes, Mr. President, a Public Safety Committee meeting Tuesday, 10 a.m. in the Kennedy Room.
Madam Clerk, please make note of that.
So noted.
Any further announcements? Any further announcements? Alderman from the 24th.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Mississippi Valley Outdoor Expo comes to Union Station. Oh, we'll make this a double announcement. It had been held in beautiful Collinsville, Illinois, for the last decade, but we brought it after much lobbying to even more beautiful Union Station. It's Saturday and Sunday. Your admission fee benefits Bike Works, and there may be more details that the Alderwoman from the 6th wants to make note of. So thank you.
All right, thank you. Alderman from the 22nd.
Mr. President, members of the board, I want to say, first of all, an early birthday to my colleague from the 10th, whose birthday is Sunday. Along with my own birthday, I'm turning the great 55, and I will be having a celebration. So I will be celebrating at the best place, 5736 Dr. Martin Luther King Drive, just east of Goodfellow. Party time is from 8 to 1 a.m. in spite of the snow. It'll be snow outside, but it'll be warm and toasty on the inside.
All right, Alderman from the 17th, do you have a announcement?
Yes, Mr. President, I believe I had stated, or certainly I've spoken to a number of people about this, that HUD's has kind of taken incentive reform as far as it can while we wait for the economic development plan. So we've kind of put that on pause, and we're starting to take a look at housing and some of the housing issues that have been coming up. So we are spending a few minutes at the beginning of each HUD's meeting kind of trying to collect information and all of us get on the same page. We're very fortunate to have our very own Professor Gerard give us a little overview of city revenue at our last meeting. Our next meeting, which is on Wednesday, we will have a special guest, Dr. Pinnell, from out at the Washington University. He'll be making a presentation on dismantling the divide. It's a kind of a regional effort taking a look at how to increase investment north of Delmar. And then the following Wednesday, we will have Professor Hollins back again, and he will be talking about how we spend money for the city. And then we're hoping to get a little bit of an update on incentive reform, or excuse me, on the economic development plan for the city on the last Wednesday. So those are kind of our special topics at HUD's that we'll be dealing with in addition to the usual legislation. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Alderman from the 12th.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. I just wanted to say, I guess our farmer colleague Frank Williamson, happy belated birthday on January 2nd. Yeah. Him and I celebrate on the same day. And also, I just wanted to say that my wife and I celebrated our 35 years anniversary on January 7th.
Congratulations. Alderman from the 6th.
To add on to the Alderman from the 24th comments about the Saturday and Sunday event, there is actually a free outdoor summit at Union Station starting today at 1:30. There will be a panel discussion on elevating access for all at 3:45 that I'm sitting on. And then I wanted to recognize up in the gallery a Gate District resident, Michael Hebron.
All right, welcome. Alderman from the 19th.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. I stand to celebrate one of our youth in the city of St. Louis. She is 10 years old. She is known as Samaya. She does not refer to herself in last name, as she is an artist. But what we need to know is all of the things that we seem to have a lot of bad rhetoric for, she has been produced out of those systems. So she attends St. Louis Public Schools at Kennard. She has been a part of a number of small entities in this community that is molding young people. She plays the violin. She's a model. She has her own company where she designs eyeglass frames. She is also a part of the Katie Ann Foundation, which a lot of people here know about. Former Representative Amber Boykins had this small organization that she funded to make sure the youth had etiquette training and all those things. She came out of that. This is her second movie that is going to premiere this month. Wow. Her first movie was with Spike Lee, Cronies, which was, most of it was shot here in St. Louis. And he also made the opportunity for some other young producers that graduated from high schools here in the city and in Clayton to be part of his cast and crew. But the most important thing that I want to say is she's only 10 years old. She's on the honor roll. She is you would want her to be your child, I'll just put it that way. But now that she is a part of Nickelodeon, this movie is called Bixler's High Private Eye. So remember when we were growing up and they had all those detective movies and stuff, they're bringing back those series because kids need to be kids. Kids need to have dreams and understand things that are right. So I'm excited about that as well. So knowing that and having her, Samaya, I say that again, she's an up-and-coming star. We need to follow her because I guarantee you she will be before us, champion for a cause that she feels close to. She is that kind of young lady at just 10 years old. So I say congratulations to her. The showing that the Nickelodeon company is going to do for her film January 21st at Ballpark Village. Thank you.
Alderman from the 10th.
Hello. Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. Next Friday morning, the 18th of January, we'll be calling a Ways and Means Committee hearing to hear Board Bill 215. Thank you very much.
Please make note of that.
So noted.
All right. Alderman from the 1st.
Mr. President, members of the board, I'd like to have as one of my special guests and acknowledge one of our newest state representatives, Wiley Price, sitting up in the rafters up there.
Oh, that's where we saw him earlier and he disappeared on us. I was wondering if he had left. Any further announcements? Any further announcements? Alderman from the 18th, you recognize on the motion to excuse.
Mr. President, members of the board, all members were present.
Excellent. Alderman from the 18th, you recognize on the motion to adjourn.
Mr. President, members of the board, I move that the board adjourns until Friday, January 18th, 10 a.m.
Moved by the Alderman from the 18th, seconded by the Alderman from the 14th. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Stand adjourned. No, we are going to get it framed.